Let's talk about the difference between independent movies and the studio experience. The Fog was still independent in that Avco Embassy was kind of halfway to a movie studio. But then going beyond that, how did you find the experience changed?
I found it changed hardly at all. We had a little bit more money, a little bit more time, but the basics of filmmaking all remained the same. It was fine. It wasn't a little $1 million movie. That was a big step up for us.
Yeah.
And we went on location to shoot it at Point Reyes, California, in Inverness. It was beautiful up there to shoot. I enjoyed myself. It was a very hard movie to make because I had to reshoot and recut, because the first version didn't work at all.
Well, you originally set out to make a Val Lewton movie.
A little ghost story, but it didn't work out.
But a PG horror movie, and...
I don't know, maybe I did, but I realized that when I watched it, this thing is a piece of crap. God, we got to do better than this. So I went back and reworked it.
Basically juicing the scares, or was there structural work as well?
The story, getting the story better.
How much of the film do you think you reshot? 10%?
Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe 10.
And you worked for the first time with a young makeup effects guy named Rob Bottin.
That's right.
That film.
Rob was on it.
And he also, I guess, was thrilled to play the ghost of the Captain Pirate there. So what was that experience like with Rob?
He was just a fan, you know. He was around and he did makeup. And somehow he attached himself to the movie like a leech. But he was very enthusiastic and very nice.
Talented guy, too.
Man.
Unbelievably.
Oh, yeah.
You also acted in The Fog.
Right.
And I remember you saying...
Why do you bring this up to me?
Well, because it's an important point. The reason you told me that you did it was so that you would have the perspective of an actor. And understand
a bad
that.
Actor.
Yeah, but
a bad actor.
To understand so you could communicate with actors what the experience was like being on the other
horrible.
side.
I hated it. I hated it. Yeah, I hated it. There's Hal Holbrook facing me, and there's lights. And I just, tried to say the lines. It was awful. Oh, God, it was awful.
Can I go now, Father?
Shush.
Do you regret having done it, or was it a worthwhile experiment?
I don't know. It's all in the past now.
Okay, well, let's talk about Body Bags then, because that was your most notable acting.
You can hide behind makeup.
Ah. Well, that was very freeing. You're having a blast doing that.
I understand Orson Welles more now because he was a makeup actor. He always changed his nose for parts. He felt secure behind makeup. He felt secure to do things. Like he was frightened.
Really?
All you have to do is get this stuff on and start making faces. And it's not you anymore.
Now, that could have been a Masters of Horror kind of show. The intent was that was a pilot for an anthology series, kind of Showtime's version of Tales from the Crypt, and you were the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
You seemed unlocked.
I was the makeup. It was all Rick Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Halloween 2 was your first sequel. You and Deborah wrote it, but you chose not to direct it.
I never thought there was another story in Halloween. I thought the story ended. What Hollywood is really about is making money. They have to find a reason to justify paying you money. So, he can do this. So Dino De Laurentiis and Universal picked up the rights to do it, and I got involved because I thought, well, I should be. As I was writing, it was the most painful screenplay. I said, there's nothing. What is this about? There's nothing here. It's the same crap I've done already. It's just repeating it. It's horrible.
And how do you feel about being referred to as a horror director? I mean, once you have tremendous success in a genre, does it kind of landlock you into that position?
It's great and it's constraining. But once you're there, you try to find as many variations on it as you can. Explore different themes, different stories, different characters. Not stay with one particular way of telling a horror story.
Well, Big Trouble in Little China was a big change from a lot of the genre stuff you'd been doing.
That was a lot of fun. I had a great time on that. I was a big Kung Fu movie fan, so I got to do that kind of stuff. They were like the Wizard of Oz almost. There were a lot of sword fighting in midair and this kind of crazy, crazy stuff. I thought, well, that hasn't been done in an American film. It really hasn't ever been that freeing. The good guy has a gun and he shoots, but it's all of that. So I just went at it. It was a lot of fun to make.
Your films often seem to have a distrust of authority. And would you say that that's a reflection of your personality?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah. Well, I still distrust authority a great deal. Even in my role as a father, I distrust myself as an authority figure.
Yeah, They Live is one of your films that's not one of the most famous or one of the most successful, but it's got such a great theme, and it's so cynical.
It is. I'm a very cynical person, I suppose, from elements of my upbringing, my family situation, and so forth.
What's your process like? I mean, when you get a script or you write a script, do you sit down, do you storyboard?
Depending on the story, depending on the script. The first thing I do is read it, and is this interesting? Has it got something in it? Can I do something with this scene? You know? Then you start talking, you start working, casting, and it starts to take a shape, locations. You begin to see it. Okay, where are our problem areas? What's not going to be perfect? Where do I have to fix it? What's going to be grand? I don't storyboard. I storyboard less and less as the years go on, because a lot can happen spontaneously, but I get an idea of what is necessary to cut the scene together, for the editing. What do I have to shoot? And that's a complicated process. A lot of it's just instinctual. But how do I want the audience to see this scene? What do I want people to feel about this? Just let the actors go? Let them carry it, let their emotions and what's going on carry it, or do I need to impose myself here? It's all those decisions, and usually those are made alone in a hotel room someplace,
Right.
with room service.
Now, often your films have ambiguous endings, not happy endings.
In some films, I started doing that, but the audiences hate ambiguity. They don't like it. It's hard to end a movie. Personally, I prefer the old 60s, 50s and 60s style filmmaking where everything's not spelled out, but that's not the world we live in.
Yeah.
It's not the world we live in.
I remember once when we were talking on The Fog about the difference between shock and suspense, similar to the Hitchcock story of the bomb under the table.
It's a tricky deal. Depending on the story you use, either shock techniques or suspense techniques. If your entire story is about innocent people who are shocked all the time, then that's what you have to use. But if you have complex characters that are kind of involved and the audience is complicit in their lives, then you can really create some suspense. The suspense comes from identifying with the characters and getting involved in what they're doing and putting them in situations where the audience is ahead of them. The audience sees the danger ahead and says, well, don't go there. Don't do that. Go over here, wake up. That's suspense.
What do you think the appeal of the horror genre is, particularly in adolescence? Do you think there's a reason that it starts there?
Going to see things your parents don't want you necessarily to see. They're slightly outlaw. You're going to have fun in the sense of a haunted house show or a roller coaster type situation. You're going to have a thrill. It's that kind of thing. And it's a great date movie. You get to cuddle with your girl and that kind of stuff.
And it seems to be not just the outsider kids that are drawn to them, but the filmmakers themselves.
Outsider kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the filmmakers within this genre were not student body president. And why do you think
bunch
that
of
is?
losers.
Yes, we all live in the gun.
Bunch of losers, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, you're kind of responsible for the Masters of Horror dinner, where you get a bunch of us together at some restaurant and we'd have dinner. And that's when I began to realize what a bunch of ugly losers we are.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, man, how did any of us get jobs?
They're not going to be doing the Men of Horror in Playgirl anytime
I'll
soon.
I'll tell you. But you were responsible for that. And then the Masters of Horror series that you put together, which some really good stuff came out of that.
Well,
Really good stuff.
cigarette burns is something that you got excited about all over again in a way that I hadn't seen you get excited in a little while.
Actually, I have to give you credit for me wanting to go back to work again, because I had such a good time on Masters of Horror.
Oh, thanks.
You set it up so well. You got a really neat crew.
You're great
and
people.
Nice scripts. I enjoyed myself. I thought, well, this isn't so bad.
Well, I thought the first time you were a little guarded because you didn't know what was going to happen.
I was guarded because my feet hurt.
Oh, that's why.
Oh,
okay.
God, they hurt so bad. I wasn't used to pounding around anymore. See?
Yeah.
And I had my assistant get me some new shoes. And how am I going to live through this?
Yeah, but we
But I
built a
loved
little
it.
island for you where
Oh,
you
yeah.
could smoke.
Oh,
and
yeah. Kept me apart from the crew. But I have to give you a lot of credit. It was really a nice experience.
Oh, thank you.